Hi, this is Meg McBrearty, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a Soutache pendant. The pendant will be used using these types of ribbons. I'm going to move the pendant out of the way. So what you're going to need 3 1-yard length pieces of Soutache trim or braid if you're looking for it. When you look for it online, the lady who was on the front of the bead and button cover, she sells it and has a really big selection, and her prices are really good. And I'm trying to remember the name of her website. It's Amee, A-M-E-E, runs, I think runs scissors. If you put that in, I'm sure it'll come up. Or look it up on the Bead and Button website. But the rest of the materials, so first you're going to need 3 of the Soutache 1-yard pieces each. And as you can tell, they have little tracks in the very middle of them. So we have 3 of those. Then you're going to need, I have 3 different size beads. And if we look at the pendant here, I think that's a 14 millimeter bead. And then I have a 10 millimeter and a 6 of what I was using. And you can use any type of round beads. It doesn't have to be these sparkly ones that I'm using. Then you're going to need some sort of rondelle, or you could even use a round bead if you would like. These are 3 by 2 millimeter rondelles, and they're check. But you could use the new Chinese crystal would be pretty also. Or you could use a 3 millimeter round bead, like a pearl or something to that effect. Okay. Then I am going to be using these check peanut beads for in the necklace part. So you're going to need something to go in between. On the necklace here I used a size 8 seed bead, but I'm going to swap them out for these peanut beads. Let me move that. Then I'm going to use a size 15 seed bead, and that's going to do your bail and the side of the piece here. Then you're going to need, then I'm going to use some 4 millimeter pearls in place of the turquoise here in the necklace area. Then I have my clasp. So I'm using a toggle, but feel free to use whatever you would like. Then I have some crimp beads here. And mine are just regular tube ones. It doesn't really matter which ones you use. As long as they crimp, you're good. Then I have 2 different types of glue that I'm using. I have a quick hold craft glue, and I have E6000. Then I have a size 13 beading needle that is really a short. So I'm going to be using that to go through the layers here to join everything together. So I'm going to put that away. Then I'm going to be using a regular size 11 beading needle for doing the Soutache part before we do the bead embroidery part. Put that away. Then you're going to need a pair of scissors. I use kid scissors for my thread. You're going to need thread, and I try to use a matching thread for the outside cords, and my outside cords that I'm using today are purple, so I'll be using this purple Nymo thread. Actually, no, this isn't Nymo, but you can use Nymo. This is Ceylon beading thread. You can get that at twistedsistabeads.com. And then I have my scissors that I use, my sewing scissors by Ginger, which are really nice. They will go through your ultra suede that you're going to need for the backing there. So there, you're going to want a piece that's going to be big enough to put your pendant on, obviously. And you're also going to need beading wire to do your necklace part. And that is all of the materials. The only tools that you'll need besides what I've shown you are you're going to need a crimper and you're going to need a cutter. And that's it. Okay, so to get started, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to thread our needle. So I'm going to take my my Ceylon and I just flatten the edge a little bit so that it will go through the needle easier. Sometimes you even have to wet your fingertips and flatten it to get it to go through. It's not as easy as like fire line, because fire line's a little bit stiffer. But once you get it on, you're gonna want a little tail up at the top, and then I do about a wingspan of thread, and I can't really show that on here, but that should be about good. Then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut your thread, and then I'm going to put my thread to the side. So the next thing I'm going to do is we are going to do a knot on the very bottom of our thread. So what I do is I like to take my fingers and I lick them so that they're a little wet, and I wrap the thread around my pointer finger, and then I twist. Hold on a second. Then I twist the, of course it's not going to work right now. And I twist the thread off my finger, so you can see that. And then I pull down, and now it came out. All right, so basically we're doing a knot at the bottom. Okay, there we go. Just keeps, it doesn't want to stay right. Okay. All right, so I have a knot now. So I'm going to actually just take my scissors and I am going to trim the very edge off. And then I'm going to put my needle aside for a second. Then the next part is we're going to bring the Soutache ribbons in. And the way that this is going to work is you're going to have one ribbon on the bottom, one ribbon next. Well, you'll have the two purple ribbons and the white will be sandwiched in between. But to get started, you want the ridges to all be going in the same direction. And as you can see on this, hold on a second. On this one, they're going, the point's going to the right, and the open end is going to the left. So, I'm going to leave that like that. And you want it to go that way on all of them. So right about now. Okay, so this is kind of hard to show you, but you're going to want to take your pieces and go end to end. So I'm taking my pieces here. Here's my ends. There's two of them together. Okay, so I'm going to take my third one and make sure it's going in the right direction, and it is. Okay, so I don't want that to come apart. So what I'm going to do, usually I have straight pins and I forgot them at home, but if you guys have straight pins, take them and just kind of point the end together so that they're kind of all together there. Then what I do is I figure out where the middle is then after I get the other ends together. So okay, so I have the middle here. And I know this is a little hard for me to show you guys. But, so I have the middle figured out. Okay. Okay, so here is my middle. I just didn't want to lose it again. But as you can see, it's a little difficult to get used to how the ribbons fold. But once you find your middle, I always put my needle in it then so that I know where it is. Because the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our other needle with our thread on it and see how they are laying right next to each other like that. That's the way it's supposed to be. So I am going to take my needle, and the first thing you do, see where the line is in here? You want to go through the lines on all three of them, and it should go through nice and soft. If it doesn't go through easily, then you didn't go through the middle part. So I'm going to pull my other needle out now that I have my one in. See how easily that went through? Okay, so now I'm going to straighten my ribbons out a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to take my needle and I am going to go back through all three ribbons. Okay. And you want to make sure that when you go through, you don't have your thread getting tangled with your ribbons. You don't want that to happen. Okay. So as you can see, I have a little bit of stuff hanging out right there. So I'm actually going to take my scissors and trim that down more. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we add the big ball in. So you're going to take your 14 millimeter bead and you're going to put it on your needle and you're going to pull it all the way down. Okay, so the first thing you do is you bring the first ribbons across, which will be the inner ribbons here. And you bring them around the bead. Okay. So the first thing I'm actually going to do, and see, it takes a little bit to get it to lay the right way. Okay, so I'm going to take my needle and coming towards myself, I go through the ribbon. Oops. Okay, so I have the one ribbon kind of attached. Then you're going to go back through, and actually I'm going to move this a little bit. So I'm going to pull the second ribbon around, and I am going to go back through this ribbon and into the next ribbon. Actually, and you're just going to pull your thread okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back through this ribbon and back into the other ribbon. And what that should do is it should pull it closed. See how the gap closed now? That is how you want it to be, with the gap closed like that. So now the next thing we're going to do, and you just want to make sure it goes around it the right way. And you don't want to pull too tight because you don't want it to pucker. So you want your tension to be just right. Now I'm going to take these two ribbons on the left side, and I am going to pull them around and go through both of those. Okay. Okay. Just pull in this. Okay, so this is starting to lay right. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go through all of the ribbons going towards yourself. And as you can see, I'm starting to go through them. I have to get the other ones lined up. Okay, that one went through good. Okay, so as you can see, I'm going to start going through these. Okay, just want to pull them a little tighter. So now I'm going to go back through just this side of the three. Okay, So that's what it should look like after adding your first braid. Hold on a minute. Okay. But you want to make sure that they're all laying on top of each other. There we go. Okay, there we go. It's better. So that's the way it should look after having your first one on. And I'm just gonna fix it a little bit. So now I'm just gonna separate my my sides, as you can see. So now the next part of the necklace is going to be adding these turquoise guys in, going around. So to do that, you're going to take your needle. As you can see, so we're going to get ready to start adding our little rondelles or 3mm beads, depending on which ones you chose. So I'm going to take my needle, and we're coming out in the middle here. I want to weave coming back towards me again. So I'm going to take the needle, and you're going to go through all 3 braids on this side. Okay, hold on 1 second. It's probably easier if I hold it this way. There we go. Alright. So, and you want to make sure it doesn't get caught on anything, like the needle I'm using to hold my pieces together. Okay. So now that we're over on this side again, we're going to split our threads, okay? So you're going to have 3 on one side and 3 on the other like we were doing. And right now I am going to turn it, actually, you know what, we're going to turn it this way so that we work going away from us. So I'm going to pick up a rondelle and okay, actually I'm going to pick up the rondelle and I'm going to take the 3 braids and we're going to go around like that. So it might be a little hard to show it. Maybe this will be an easier way. I'm going to bring these around. And you want to keep them kind of together like that. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to take my needle. And you want to pull it around as tight as you want. Hold on a second. But you don't want anything to pucker. So you want to be careful about that. That doesn't look right. Okay. 1 second. Sometimes it can get a little... The first one's always the hardest. Once you get past that, you're good. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to pull my thread that way so it doesn't get caught on anything. Okay. So as you can see, now I'm starting to pull that together there. So I'm actually going to go back through that bead we just added. So you're going to go through all 3 braids again. And you want to go through all 3 on the other side too. And the reason why I did that instead of just going straight over and coming down is because it just makes it a lot sturdier. And that way your bead's really in there. It's not going to move around. So now I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come out of the 3 braids. So you don't want to be too close to your bead that you just added, but you don't want to be too far either. Okay, so I am going to pull this tighter, but you don't want it to be too tight because you don't want it to pucker. It's the one thing you don't want. So I'm going to pick up my next bead. Okay, and I have to move the bead for a minute. And then I'm going to go straight across through the 3 braids. Okay, so I'm going to pull that and then I'm going to go back through again. Okay, and then you're gonna come out of the next, and it's easier to kind of do this on a diagonal. There we go. So you're going to continue doing this all the way around your bead. So I'm going to show you this one more time. So you're going to come around to where it joins down on the other side. So I'm going to let you go and do that, and then we'll come back and do the rest. Okay, so we're back, and as you can see, I have all of my purple done around my green bead. So the next part we're going to do is we're going to add this bead on. So to do that, first you're going to take your needle and we are going to go through the bead, the Soutache ribbon here. And oh, not coming out of my middle one. And we're just tacking right now on this one. We're just gonna go through and tack a little bit on this inner ribbon here. Okay. So actually, now I am going to take these 3 ribbons and we're going to bring them across, and right here we're going to tack them on. But before we do that, I'm going to tack these 3 to the point right there. So I'm going to take this and we're going to go through all 3 ribbons right like that. Okay. So that's tacked on now. So now we're going to take our 3 ribbons on the outside and we are going to bring them across here. As you can see, okay, so we're going to take the needle and we're going to come through 3 of the Soutache ribbons right through there, and I'm going to pull that. Okay, then we're going to take our other 3 ribbons and push that up against it, and we're going to go through those 3. Okay, I'm going to pull that, and I want to tack it on, so I'm going to go back through all 6 of them and then come back out again. So coming through. Okay. And then I want to see, okay, so we're going to want to come back out. You're going to go through all 6 again. There we go. Much better. Okay. Okay. So now we're tacked on there. Okay, so we are going to pick up our next bead, which is, I think, our 10mm bead. Okay. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be bringing these around here, and then the other ones are going to come around that way. So we're actually going to go through, I think it was, yeah, okay. So we have that on there. You're going to bring them around. Just want my thread out of the way. So we're going to go through this guy. Hold on a second. As you can see, you can have some issues with the ribbons as you're trying to do this. So sometimes you just have to turn things to get it to go right. Okay, now let me get the last 2 to come around. And okay. So I have that coming around now. Sometimes you just have to kind of play with it to get it to go. Okay, so now I'm going to pull that. So now that's attached that way. So we want to bring this one across the front like that. So I just have to move those, but we're going to take our needle then and we are going to weave through. Okay, there we go. Okay. So as you can see right now we have the second one attached. Now we're going to move on to the third one. So I'm actually going to weave back through the top three. So the ones that are laying on the top here, I'm going to go through the three of them. And pull that nice and tight. So now we are ready to add our next one. So I'm going to pick that up. And as you can see, the next one is right there. So straighten these out a bit. And we're going to tack through this top one first. Pull that around, just like we did with the one above. Okay, got my ribbon through my thread. I'm going to be careful not to do that. Oh, and I don't think I did it. It's still around my thread. See, there's lots of things that I can mess up on today. But at least it shows you that even somebody who's done this has issues sometimes. But that's okay. We always learn from our mistakes. So I have that around the bead. So now I'm going to take these two, bring them around. And go through them. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm going to take the bottom ones and I'm going to bring them across and bring the bottom ones around. And you're going to go through the bottom three. To attach them. Okay, so actually I'm going to pull them around. we're going to go back through the 3. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, I've come out of the bottom here. But what I want to do is I want to go back through these 3 here. And then we'll come back out again. Because I want to tack it to it. Make sure my thread doesn't okay, and then I am gonna come back out through the 3. Okay, so now I'm going to take these 3, and what we're going to do is we're going to wrap them around this and into the back. And the way that you do this is we are going to go back through the 3. Okay. Make sure I don't get a knot, because that can happen with the Ceylon Nymo type of thread. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through all 6 again, as you can see right there. So what you're doing is you're starting to tack it around. And you want it to go into the back though. So come out there. I want to come out over a little bit more, but I want to make sure that I go through all 3. Okay. And you want to make sure you lay these guys just right too. So okay. And then you're going to go through all 6 of them again. Okay. Yep. Okay, sorry. Wanted to make sure I didn't get that caught. And then you're going to go through the 3 again. Oh. Make sure they're laying right. Okay, so now we're pulling it through through those 3. So gonna keep going, and as you can see, when you push it into the back, it lays a little different. Okay, so I'm getting there. Okay, so that's gonna go right there. Sorry. It's so hard to do this all in one spot and have it be okay. Okay, so now we're starting to maybe get it to going into the back. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm just going to start tacking it like that. It's not going through everything the same way. You just want to go through so that you get through the 3 on the front. There I go. But it's not going to be even like it was. Okay, so as you can see, I'm starting to go into the back like that. So this is what the back looks like so far. So what we're doing though is we're going to be taking this and coming back to the front again and doing a bigger circle, okay? And this piece is actually going to come in the back like that, and we'll finish it off up there, okay? But first we're going to do finish our circle here. So I'm going to make sure that goes into the back like it is. And I'm going to keep tacking it as I can. I want the pieces to be right though. So sometimes, as you can tell, you have to kind of play with it to get it to go where you want it to go. Soutache isn't the easiest thing to do, but it's not the hardest thing either. Okay. So I have that, and it's gonna start coming around. But I want it to tack onto something. So if I can just, right in here, if you can just get it to tack a little bit in the back, you should be okay. It should still keep coming around like you want it to. Okay. Which I'm going to try and pin it now. See if that'll hold it. And it looks like it is. Okay, so now while it's in the back here, you just want to tack the pieces just like you would on the front. And I know it's not really connecting to anything right here yet, but it will be. Starting right about here. If you can see right in here, you're going to pick up a little piece. And then you're going to pull this through before you go through the 3 pieces. And then you'll go through the 3. And that tacks it. Okay. So what I want you to do is you are going to finish going around and tacking it to the front again like we were. And I want you to bring it around and into the back again. And once we get that done, then we'll come back and finish it and finish the other one. Okay, so we're back. And as you can see, I have my circle done now. I went around the back again and came through. And as you can see, this is the back. So I'm just going to, I want to think what I'm going to do. Yeah, we're going to go through the back one more time so that we can come out on a second. And actually, we don't want to go through those again yet, because we're going to leave them loose to finish our ends with. But I don't want to do that yet until we get the other side done. So what we're going to do is I'm going to flip it back over for a minute, and you're going to take these guys, and we want them to lay perfect like we were, and we're going to wrap it around the back. So you want it kind of like that. So I'm going to take this and see if I can pin it a little bit. Yep. And of course the pinning's not going to work. So we're coming out over here. And I want to tack onto these guys. Sorry. I'm just trying to get it to lay right before we go through anything. Okay. So actually, you know what? We're going to have to work our way over a little bit more, because I don't want to be too far away from it. So that should bring us out pretty close. Okay, so now I'm going to go through the 3 right there. So I get that to the back. Oh, don't want to lose my needle. I'm going to pull that. Okay. Okay, so now we're just going to tack this together. So I am just tacking back and forth on these 3 only. And the reason why we're doing that is because when we pull it, then it's going to go to the back, but you're going to have some where it's not going to be tacked to anything, because I don't think it would look right anyway. We're going to tack it to here at some point, but not quite yet. Oh, there we go. That looks better. Okay. So we're just going to keep tacking a little bit. And you just want to check like that every once in a while to make sure you didn't go too far with the tacking. Actually, pull this one forward again. There we go. Okay. To fix this a little bit. Still have a little bit to go. Okay, so now we are tacked pretty good. Okay, so now I am going to take this and I'm actually going to come through here on the other side. To bring it over. And you're not going to see this in the back, so it's okay if it's, as you can see, if you see some thread and stuff on the back, it's all right. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do, because I don't know. Okay, so what I'm going to do actually, because I don't want to see on the front, I don't really want to have a gap there. So I'm going to bring that back out a little bit, and we're going to tack the sides together over there. So I'm going to go back through the 3 here, and I'm going to hold that up to there. As you can see, I want them to kind of be together there. And I'm going to go through the side, and then through the 3 there, but I'm not, hold on a second. Okay. Alright. So now with the 3 like that. Okay. So as you can see, it's not always clear what you want to do. You just kind of have to find your way. I mean, really, Soutache is more of a free-form type of weaving, and sometimes you never know what you want to do until you go and do them. Actually, okay, so now that'll come around and up there. Okay. So with the way it is, it's good. So I'm actually going to come back through to tack it just a little bit more. Okay, and then I'm going to go right back in. Okay, so that piece is basically done. All we need to do is put it in the back and end it. And I'm going to do the same thing to the circle now too. Except with the circle, I'm thinking with the circle of maybe going around again. But you can decide that on your own if you want to. So I'm actually just going to leave mine, but I'm going to show you on the top one how to end it. But for filming, I'm only going to end one. So let's move up and do that. And then if you decide that you want to do your circle a little bit wider, you can. And then you'll just end it how I'm going to show you how to end something. So actually, I have to weave to get back up to the top part there. So I'm just weaving lightly through what's already been done. Okay. So pull that out. Actually, let's throw it again. Okay. So the way this will go is I want to pull that across, but before I do that, I want to take my needle and go through. I'm going to do it this way so you guys can see it better. But I'm going to tack a little bit more just so that everything's pulled together. So okay. Okay. All right. So as you can see, it's pretty well coming into the back on its own. We're gonna just almost to the spot where we need to be to finish this. So I am actually going to go through the 3 again, but I am going to also go through right there on the other side, so to tack it a little bit. And then I'm going to go back through all 3 again. Well, actually all 6, I apologize. So now to finish it, what I do is first I'm going to go back through just the 3. Okay. Then I take my needle, and what I do is I go underneath. Basically, it's like doing a half hitch knot. I go underneath of my threads, and I have a little loop here. And then I go through the loop, and there's a couple of different things that I do to end it. So this is one of them. So the other thing I actually do is I wrap this around my threads just a couple of times. So I wrap it around like 2 times, and then what I do is I take my needle and I go through the Soutache, okay, and I pull it, and then sometimes I take my needle and I just go through again a couple of times there. But I do like wrapping around a couple of times and then going through, because that seems sometimes to work the best. And I pull it tight all in that one spot. And then go through. Okay. Okay. So now we're through that. So I'm actually gonna go around just a couple more times. Because I like having it nice and not bulky so much, but I like knowing that it's not gonna come out. Okay. So that's good right about there, I guess, for it. Now to end it, what I do, and actually I am going to take my needle and go through it like that. And then I'm going to go through the loop just to do a little knot there. And then I'm going to do another one. And do another knot. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to go through this to tack it down. And then I'm going to come back through what I just did. Okay, which will be good because that'll hold it down more when you are gluing it onto your piece. Okay, and then I'm gonna do another knot just to be sure from everything, and I think I'm gonna do one more. Okay, so that is how you finish it. And then what I do is I take my fabric scissors, and I cut the ends down. Okay, and it's about 1/4 of an inch, I guess. I mean, you can do them smaller. And to keep it from fraying, all I do is I take a little bit of the Quick Hold craft glue and I put a little bit on my fingers and just kind of wipe them, just so that it keeps it from wanting to go anywhere. So then what I would do, if my other end was completed as much as I want it to be, I would weave over and finish that end then, and do it the same exact way that we do this. But I'm not going to do that. And then when you're done, you cut your thread, obviously. And then we will stop right now and come back in a minute after you guys are done doing that. And I'll show you how to finish it. Okay, so we are back, and as you can see, our soutache is all cleaned up, and I just want to apologize now for, you know, how hard it looks. It really isn't as hard as I made it seem. It just, I guess I was having some video bunnies in my tummy, and you know, trying to show you guys came out a lot harder than it should have been. But now what we're going to do is we're going to glue this down on our ultra suede. So ultra suede actually has two sides to it. It has a good side. I mean, both sides feel nice and everything, but there's a right side and a wrong side. The wrong side is a little bit more felt-like. It looks more felty than the other side. The other side like moves nice when you go over top of it. The wrong side doesn't. So I'm actually going to take my piece and I'm going to take my E6000 glue, and what we're going to do is I'm going to just squirt a little bit out on something to get the good glue out. So now I'm just going to take it and go around my pieces a little bit here. And then I'm going to need it on some of this stuff. And you don't want too much glue out, because then you're going to have a hard time attaching things. Okay, so now I'm going to take my piece and I am going to flip it like this, and you just want to push it down so that it stays. Now this will have to sit for about gonna say you want it to set for at least maybe a half an hour before you start working on it. I would let it sit longer, but if you're impatient like I can be sometimes, you probably will want to get started sooner. So I would go at least a half an hour. If you can wait like an hour to 2 hours, you might be a little bit better, but you should be okay. And the other thing you want to do too is you want to make sure it's pushed down in certain spots. Now, one way to do that, I just read in a new book by a bead embroiderer, Heidi Kumeli. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but she has a beautiful new book out, and she says to use clothespins to hold your piece down totally so it doesn't pop up. So if you have some clothespins laying around, you could clamp it on the spots that are harder to hold down. So we'll let you do that, and then we'll come back and I will show you how to cut it out, and then we'll get started on beading around it. Okay, so now we're back, and if your piece is dry, we're going to start doing some cutting and stuff. As you can tell, I have a different piece here, and that's because I can't use the piece that I was showing you earlier. So I had previously had some stuff done to show you guys. So as you can see, I have it's all glued. Now it just needs to be cut out. But before I do that, you also want to have your needle coming out of your Soutache braid. And I like to start in the corner. It's easier to go around than starting in a corner. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to show you how to cut. You want to use fabric scissors. So you cut as close as you can to the Soutache without cutting the Soutache, and you cut that piece. And you want to make sure that you don't cut too far under, but you want it so that you don't have a lot on the edges either. You want it to be pretty even with what's going around. So, and the reason why you glue it down before you cut is so that you're not cutting it too small of a piece or too big of a piece. This actually helps a little bit. Okay. So, and you want to make sure you don't cut your thread either as you're doing this. So if you just do little pieces, and I know getting into these corners isn't that easy either. So doing little pieces at a time is a good thing. Now I'm going to take my thread and place it across. And then we are cutting around it. And I know it's not the most beautiful, but it'll work. Okay, so now that my piece is all laid out, I'm gonna take these extra ones away. Put them over there. And then I'm gonna get my size 15 out that I'm gonna use with this. Now, if you guys want to, if you don't want to use a 15, you can use an 11. Somebody mentioned to me the other day that I was nuts for doing a 15 because it is tiny, but it gives it a little bit of a finer look than if you use an 11, but it's up to you. Just decide what you would like to do. So what I'm going to do is I am picking up we're going to be doing brick stitch. So you pick up 2 of your seed beads, and then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through the ultra suede and then come out of the Soutache thread ribbon. And you pull it. You don't want to knot, so be careful of that. And then you're also going to go up through the second bead. So closest to the left, you want to go up that bead. You're going to pull it tight. And I know it looks a little funky right now, but it'll start straightening itself out. So we're going to pick up another 15. And you're going to go up through the ultra suede. And then into, hold on a second. It's having a little issue. There we go. And come through the ribbon then. Okay, so now I'm going to go up through the 15 we just added on. Sometimes you have to go through from the back. It's easier to go through it. Okay, as you can see now it's starting to look like an edging. So I'm gonna do another one for you. And then I'm gonna let you guys go off on your own. So we're gonna go through the backing. Okay. All right, so we're going through both. I'm gonna pull it. Okay. And then you're gonna go up through the 15 there. Okay. And you're just going to do this all the way around, and when you get to the front, then I'll show you how to end it. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys work on your own, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to finish. Okay, so as you can see, I have my piece all done. We're all the way around. Now, as you can see, I'm not connected here yet. So the way to do that is I take my needle and I am going to go down the very first seed bead that we did. Okay. And then I'm going to go up that last one that we were adding on. Oh. And I might have to do that from the back. So there we go. So now that I'm connected like that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to weave to the top to do, show you how to add a couple of loops. So I am just going to weave through the beads to get up there. Okay, and you're just going to weave up and through. Just to get up here. So as you can see, and you want to be careful that you're not going through your ultra suede again. You just want to be going through the beads. Okay, so now I'm in a spot to where I would like to add some loops. Now I want to show you, on the original piece here, I have 2 loops, then I have 3, and then I have 2. Now, I did the loops, and then the beads that are in the middle, I added them on first, well, after I got my loops done, before I go to do the chain. Those are added on, like I put the beading thread through, put one of those on, went through the other 3, put another one on, and then went through the last 2. And then I just did the length of it. So we'll go over that briefly after I show you how to do the loops. So we are going to pick up 10 15s. Okay. And then you go down through your first bead again. The bead that your thread's coming out of, you go down. I'm going to use my pliers to pull it, and sometimes you need them. Okay, so I have 1 loop there. So I'm going to weave up through the next bead. Okay. And I'm going to do another loop there. So 1, 2, 10. Okay, so then I'm going to come down through that same bead. I'm going to use my pliers. Now for this earring, I'm only going to do one more. I only went 3. But for the pendant, you want to do the 3 in the middle, and then you want to do 2 loops on each side. So okay, hold on a minute. There's 3, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and then I'm going to go down through that same bead. I'm having trouble doing it on the front, so we're going to go through on the back. And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes it's just easier doing it on the front. Oh, and look at that, I broke my needle. And sometimes it's just easier doing it on the back. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, well, at least I got to pull it through. And sometimes that happens, your needles break. Okay, so let's take a break for a minute. I'm going to let you get all of your loops done, and then we'll come back and I will show you how to finish it. Okay, so now you're back and you have all your loops done. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go underneath the thread right here. And I am going to pull that. So I have a loop here and I'm going to go through the loop and pull that nice and tight. And then I am going to weave. I was going to weave up through that bead. I need to change out my needle, so we're going to take a break for a minute. Okay, sorry about that. So we have our knot there. So I am going to weave up through the next bead, and then right in between the thread there, I'm going to go through, do a loop again, go through the loop, and pull, so I have a knot, and then I'm going to weave down through the next bead, and then up through the following bead, and then back down through the bead that we were just coming out of. And now I am going to cut. You want to get as close as you can there. So that's what it should look like finished with just the loops and everything. Obviously, you're going to have more loops with this. So I'm going to go over just briefly for a minute on what you're going to do. You're going to take your beading wire and you're going to cut it to about 24 inches, okay? Then you're going to take it and you're going to weave it through the first 2 loops. You're going to take one of your rondelles that you were using in your pendant. You're going to pick one up, go through the next 3 loops, pick up another rondelle, and go through the last 2. Then you're going to pull it so that you have your thread is even on each end. Then you're going to start picking up, for me, it would be my pearl I was going to do. It doesn't matter, you could pick whatever you would like, but I'm going to pick up my pearl, and then you pick up 6 seed beads, which I was going to use my peanuts, like I said in the beginning, but you can use size 8 seed beads if you would like. Then you pick up a 15 and a rondelle and a 15. And then you pick up 2, 4, 6 of your size 8 seed beads or peanuts if you want. And then you pick up a 15, and then I would do my pearl and a 15. And then you just repeat that all the way down until you get it to be the length that you would like. And then you use crimps to attach your clasp. And if you guys need to look at that, I know we have other videos on Jewelry Making Professor that you could watch for basic stringing. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I know it was a little trying there for a little bit, but once you get playing with everything, you should be okay, and you should have a good time. So I hope you enjoy it, and please look for my other videos.